So today I've had an absolute bundle of items bought in store. Well, I say a bundle. I've had some items bought in store. I thought you might be interested to see what I've had brought in. There's been a few things. There's been a bulk collection of Magic the Gathering cards. There's been some old Warhammer. There's been some vintage Pokemon. There's been a absolutely massive bundle of Lego. And then we've had tons of orders come in as well. So what I'll do is I'll show you the things that I'm buying. I'll chat about them a little bit and yeah, we'll go from there. So this is the bundle of Magic the Gathering. There's just some random commons there. There's some mythics in here, but mainly rares. Mainly, I've sorted them into sets. There's a few foils, bulky foils. But there's some alright stuff in here. So we pay 10p for a rare, 10p for a foil, 50p for a mythic. We always buy bulk because inevitably bulk can go up in price, so it's always worth buying in bulk. We also buy good cards as well, not just bulk, but bulk can be really good, sometimes you have to sit on it for ages, and sometimes you don't have to sit on for ages. The price can just go up and boom, you make some money. Any foils in here will be stripped out and put in my own personal collection. So I have a play set of 4 of every card. I'm trying to do 4 of every card in foil. It's really, really difficult and will take me my whole entire life, but I'm going to try anyway. Anything over 4, that gets sold back into the shop. I say my own personal collection, it's the shop collection really, but I call it mine because I use the cards from it, but it belongs to the shop. And then, yes, all these rares will go into our storage boxes behind and just get sorted into those. So that's another job to do another day. So I think there was nearly 400 cards here. I think about 350 cards here. So that would be 36-ish, 38-ish pounds with the few mythic cards in there. We're just going to knock it up to 50 store credit for the dude because I'm pretty sure he wants to take store credit. I've written him in our book and he should be able to come and use that whenever he likes. So there we go. That is the first lot of stuff we bought today. The next thing I bought was a whole bunch of toys, basically. Cleared out a kid's room. They wanted to get rid of all of their toys. I ended up getting a Nintendo Switch, a whole bunch of Lego, a massive bundle of Fortnite figures, all boxed, some Squishmallow key rings, a massive bag of toys, some games for the Switch, and I paid £150 for all of it. I'll show you the Lego quickly because I've got that in store. All the Fortnite sets are at home. What I will do is I will stick some pictures up here. I'll just run through them there and you can see all of those. Some of them seem to have quite good value, others not so much, but we might do them as a bundle or we might just do them singly. I'll have to see how that goes. I'll show you some of the Lego we got. So as you can see, there's a whole tray of Lego minifigures here. It's got to be about 60 odd minis there. We've got some here. We've got a whole bunch over here as well. And then we've got some over here. So these ones have been priced already. There's some pretty nice ones in here, like the Alice in Wonderland. I think we've got like a Buzz Lightyear over here. There's an Iron Man, Joker. Just some nice minifigures. Some of these should get quite a good price. Cheshire Cat there, that's a good one. I'm just going to leave those there. I'm going to get around the other side of the shop because it's a little bit easier for me to see if anyone's coming in. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch of Lego minis there, probably 100 odd minis. So what we're doing, it's a bit of a slow process. I like to sell them complete if I can, because obviously you can ask a bit more money. So we're currently Google lensing each one to find if they're supposed to have accessories. We've got a whole bag of accessories. We're making sure all the parts are on the right models. If they're complete, they're going into one box, then they're getting priced, then they're going to go in the cabinet. If they've got missing bits, they're in one box, and then the other box is the one we're sorting through. So the middle box is the one we're still sorting through. The left-hand one was the ones that are all complete, and the right-hand box were the ones that had missing pieces. Now we can still sell the ones with missing pieces, it's just we'll probably have to price them a little bit less than the going rate for them. So yeah, we've got like 100 minifigures there. I think there was like 5 or 6 Lego sets as well, including a Batmobile, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle truck, and a few smaller kind of like Marvel cars and things like that. I think there was a Lego Movie Emmett one as well, but it was a little set. It wasn't a massive set or anything like that. Then we ended up with a Nintendo Switch that's working and fine. It's missing its back clip, but I've got a couple of games I can bundle with it. Toad and Super Smash Bros. So that'll be a nice bundle for someone. Got the charger lead and everything for that as well. A whole big bag of toys. And when I say big bag of toys, I mean big bag of toys. I've already been through one bag, taken a load of bits down the charity shop that really weren't worth selling, and then just kept everything else that's good. And then there's another bag that's got like some bigger toys in it. It's got some Squishmallow key rings that seem to be quite good value. And there's a whole bunch of action figures in there I've got to go through as well, plus a load of smalls. Anything that's not suitable for selling on eBay or selling in the shop, I'll take down to the charity shop. Everything else I'll keep and either put it in our car boot box for a car boot later in the season, or I'll pop it in the shop, or I'll pop it on eBay, depending on how it goes. I'll see if I can get some pictures of some of the items. I might even just take a picture of the bag and put it here, just to show you what kind of toys are in there. I've already got the Lego cabinets sorted. I think I've shown you that in a video before. I've removed 2 levels out of the 4. They're both clean now, and that gives us enough room to put all of the new Lego into the cabinet. I'm hoping to get that done by the end of this week. Fingers crossed, but I'm not 100% sure that's going to happen. It is a pretty slow process, but it will be worth it because we can ask for extra money for those minifigures. Plus, people will be happy because they'll have a completed minifigure rather than a minifigure with a part missing. I'll try and get the Switch listed as well because that should make me the majority of my money back. I probably should say we also got a Pikachu plush with flashing cheeks. We got a Sobble plush. We got a Grookey plush. Already sold the Grookey plush for £8. Already sold one of the minifigures, the Genie minifigure. Got £7 for that. Someone's going to use it for their D&D campaign because they couldn't find a Genie model. And yeah, really good, strong purchase. We should make a fair bit of money. It's going to take a bit of time, but it's definitely good for the store. I've also had some Pokemon cards brought in for a trade-in. The guy comes to our shop a little bit every now and again. Haven't seen him for quite a while. Said to me, do I still do trade-ins in store? I was like, yeah, of course we do, depending on what you've got. He said he's got 3 cards. He'd looked the price up online. He kind of knew what they were worth. He kind of knew what he wanted, but he wanted to see what I would offer first. So basically he showed me the 3 cards. I took a look at them and he was pretty bang on with what they sell for. I'm going to show you the cards. I'm going to tell you what I gave him, and I'm going to tell you what I hope I can get for these. This is the first card. This is a secret rare quick ball. It's secret rare. There's the gold kind of gives that away. Also the number on the bottom, the set number, should be higher on the first number, 216 of 202. So that indicates that it's a secret rare. So like a hidden card in the set, but not very hidden because it's right there. So that card in, I would probably say, very good condition, probably mint. That is worth between 30 and 40 pound. If I were to get this graded, that would cost me about 15 pound. This goes up to about 70 pounds in a PSA 9 to 10. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. So maybe not really worth me grading this card to gain the extra 5 to 10 pound. I can let someone else do that. I could stick that up for 40. I'd probably get that and just leave it at that. So there's that card. Next card is a alternate artwork, Zapdos, Galarian Zapdos. Just an alternate artwork from the set Chilling Reign, which is a slightly older set from the Sword and Shield era. Quite a nice card. Again, very, very good condition. Looking at probably about 50 to 70 pound for this card raw. I have seen PSA 10 gem mint ones sell for anywhere between sort of like 2 to 250. So this one could be worth getting graded. If I was going to grade it, I would definitely check over it with the loop, make sure it was all clear, nice and clean, because it's not really worth sending off unless you're going to get a 9 or a 10. There are quite a lot of graded ones of these. So you really want to be hitting 10s with stuff like this to make it really worth your while. Otherwise, the price drops quite considerably from PSA 10 to PSA 9. So there's that one. And then last but not least was the alternate artwork Charizard V. This is from Brilliant Stars. So a set that is pretty much out of stock in most places. We haven't had booster packs for quite some time, even though we've got them on back order. This card, raw like this is definitely not a PSA 10. It has a few tiny, tiny little white marks on the back border. I reckon it might get a 9 if it's lucky, because the centering seems to be quite nice. The front is quite nice, the corners are quite nice, but there are a few marks. Surface is good as well. I've had a little look over it, obviously, because I wanted to make sure that when I was trading it in, it was as good as it could be. Raw, like this, you're looking at about 160 as a sale price on eBay. probably less on trading groups and things like that, but about 160. If you get this graded and it gets a 10 or a 9, anywhere from kind of as low as 250, depending on where you get it graded, and as high as £450. So again, this one would be probably worth sending off if we think it will get a 9 or a 10. Preferably a 10, but I don't think this will get a 10. Guy wanted a booster box of Scarlet and Violet, but it actually wasn't released, so we couldn't give him that. I would have, but we couldn't. So we said to him, well, what else do you want? And he said, oh, I'll take a box of Silver Tempest. He also had a little bit of credit left over from what we offered, so he bought some boosters as well, I think. So that trade-in was quite good for us. I am actually really considering getting some cards ready to send off to get graded. Not to get graded, but to get graded. Either at PSA or Beckett, but yeah, I'm not sure. It's very nice and clean, but there are a few nicks on this. Quite hard to see, but they're definitely there. We'll see what happens, but those were some nice cards. Nice to look at, if nothing more. And either they'll get sold on eBay in the store, or they'll go off to get graded, and then we will sell them on eBay. So there we go. There's another collection bought. Very small collection compared to the first Magic collection, but a very good one indeed. My next bunch of items I bought in, very, very nostalgic to me. But as a reseller, you have to be very careful, as you may well know. You cannot pay for nostalgia. Not if you're reselling. And you definitely can't pay for someone else's nostalgia. Now, you might find when you do deals with people sometimes, maybe if you're new, you might not know this, but they will think their item is worth a lot more than it is, or they will want a lot more money than you can pay, knowing that you have to make a profit on top of it. And that's because they have super nostalgia attached to said item, so they don't really want to get rid of it. So there's no way you're going to be able to make a deal with them, because they're just going to want too much money. On the flip side of that, you have to be careful that you aren't paying too much for something because of your nostalgia. Unless, of course, you're keeping it, and then it doesn't matter. You can overpay for it because you're not going to be selling it. If you can get it cheap, even better. But you have to be very careful of nostalgia in reselling. Nostalgia, however, is a great tool for selling things, because if you can get people nostalgic about something, they will often overpay for it. I've paid for things in the past that I really wanted, and I've paid more than I probably should have. Nostalgia. It can be a great tool for a reseller or selling in general. But this stuff that I'm about to show you has two reasons why it's nostalgic to me. So the first reason is that these items were bought in my store over 20 years ago and are now being returned to my store. The second reason is that these miniatures would have been in circulation and in use when I was playing Warhammer when I first started. So that would have been when I was about 8, so we're looking at about 32 years ago. Nah, maybe 34 years ago. Double nostalgia for me, but I can't pay for nostalgia. And if he's got any nostalgia, tough. I can't pay for that. Hopefully, he's looking just to get rid of. I'll tell you a little bit about the guy first. So he's a gentleman that used to come to my store about 20 years ago. I think he popped into the shop and we were talking, just having a chat. And I told him about the reselling I do. He invited me to his house to buy a load of stuff. Now, when I got there, some of the stuff was pretty expensive. I think he had a bit of nostalgia attached to it. So there was stuff I just couldn't buy. But as we spoke a little bit more, he kind of eased up a bit and the prices got a bit cheaper. And I was just like, look, I just can't pay that for that because I've got to resell it. I've got to make money. Anyway, we ended up doing a great deal. I filled up a carload of stuff and got most of the items, and quite a few bits of it have sold. I may still have some of it and some in the death pile or whatever. But anyway, it was really good. We had a good chat with him as well. He told me about that he was really into Lego and that he was selling some of his like old Lego he'd found from when he was a kid or when his kids were kids, and he was just sorting it all out and selling it. When he told me he was selling it, I said to him, oh, has he used Bricklink? And he told me that he hadn't. I think he'd heard of it, but he wasn't using it. I suggested, why didn't he start a Bricklink store if he wants to start selling Lego? Anyway, roll on, I've got to be about a year, and he popped into store and told me that he'd actually started a Bricklink store. I'll give him a little plug. So it's called Kerno Kits and Bits. He runs that and told me it's doing pretty well. I was like, great, that's great to hear. I'm really glad that's going well for you. And he told me that he'd been cleaning out his attic because they were moving and he'd found a bunch of old Warhammer. Would I be interested in buying it? Of course I would. So he said he'd drop it in. So he's dropped it in now. He's also since dropped me a bag of White Dwarfs as well. I'll pretty much buy White Dwarfs as long as they're very cheap. Won't probably pay more than 20p a white dwarf, but some of them sell for about £3 or £4 in the store. Some of them sell for £1-2. But I'll pay 20p for a white dwarf, no trouble. I haven't even looked at those actually, they're all in a carrier bag over there. But what I wanted to show you was the models. It's not the biggest collection I've ever had, but there are quite a few miniatures here. I'll go through some of the more slightly boring things. So there's a box of Cadians here. I don't know if they've got their bases, they're definitely not made. Probably looking at about £15, probably resale on that. They don't make those anymore, so maybe a little bit more. We've got some Orc Boys. They still make these. You can still buy them. I think they're about £25, £27 a box, so maybe £15 on this as well. I've got to check to make sure all the bases and kind of stuff is in there, because, you know, if you ever get secondhand Warhammer models without bases, that isn't great, and you would have to include that in your listing. There's a box of dwarfs here as well. It looks like there might be extra sprues in there. Again, you've got to check all the bases are in there. There is a dwarf codex. I always say about codexes and army books on the channel. This one, I don't think it's an awfully expensive one. Could be £15 to £20 though. We also have Kislev. Kislev are quite a good army. If you can find the models for the Kislev, very expensive, very good. Again, I'm not sure on the value of that. Could be anywhere from 15 to sort of £30. An old Warhammer rulebook, not worth an awful lot, but we'll be able to give something for it. And then some models. This is the reason I know these were bought from us, because they have our old MFM sticker on them that we used to do. These are all in their blisters as well. These are all dwarfs. So there's a dwarf organ gun. We've got a very yellowed out dwarf cannon. Some of these packs have seen better days. We've got some iron breakers, some more iron breakers, troll slayers. These were £6 a pack back in the day. Some more troll slayers, whole bag of loose iron breakers, whole bag of loose miners. I guess these ones were open to get started. More miners, more miners, more miners, and more miners. Now, you don't see things in blister packs an awful lot anymore. They don't do metal anymore. There's this set as well. This is quite a good one. I've checked that. That's complete as well. A gyrocopter that broke out of its packaging. Just literally exploded when I picked it up. No big deal though. I think the plastic may have come away at the bottom, but we've still got the whole thing there. And there's one character there. That's Bugman. There, Joseph Bugman. And then there's also a carry case. Plastic carry case. They don't make these anymore. They make different ones. And then inside there, there's the foams. It's missing one layer of foam that goes over the top, but we've got spare foam, so I could just replace that. There's a unit of dwarfs in there, plastic ones, and a unit of plastic Lord of the Rings Montreal goblins. Probably a tenner to 15 quid on each of those units in there. About 25 for the case. This is probably around about 100, anywhere from sort of like 75 to 120. So say 100. And then all of these miniatures, these single miniatures. Now, there are people trying to sell these on eBay for £23.95 per model. Don't often see them sell for that much, if ever. Most of the items that are selling on there are between £5 and £8 with or without postage per model. There's 11 in here, I think. 6 in here. There's this character. He'll be a bit more. The gyrocopters don't go for very much. Maybe like £20. There's some more figures in there as well. There's another 3 in there. If they're £5 a model, there's 11 in there, so that's 55. 6 in there, so that's 35. 3 in there, so that's 15. So that's over £100 for those. He might be a 10 or a 15. So it's 115. That's, say, 15. So it's 130. And then you've got each of these that has 3 in as well. Now, these will be slightly more because they're in their blister packs. Unfortunately, we've got the sticker on them, so that could be a slight issue. I would say probably about £30 is probably a reasonable price to sell these for. I think because they're in the packaging, they do command a slightly higher price. There is always the risk that when you're buying loose models, they may be recast. These are not recasts. They're too good. They're too clean, too detailed to be recast, and they were probably all bought from me anyway. Probably about £30 on these is what I'd list them for. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of those, including the cannon and the organ gun that may be a little bit more. So that's 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. That's over £200. That's over £100. That's £100. So you're looking at 2, 3, 4, probably £500-ish resale value on that. So I've got to think of what I want to pay for it and then make the offer. It was just quite a nice small collection of things to buy that will give me plenty of listings to just get onto eBay and get sold. So that was the next collection that we're in the process of buying. I've also had over 4,000 bulk Pokemon cards bought in. Just had another collection of Pokemon brought in as well from a guy that used to play here quite a few years ago. So there could be some quite interesting bits in there. So I'm actually off home now. I've got some sorting out to do at home because I'm going to take that collection home with me. The bulk doesn't need to be sorted. That's all been brought already. I need to think of the price I'm going to pay for this. And now I need to get back in contact with the guy and let him know. So there was no rush, but I don't want to take the mickey. I want to do it as quickly as possible. And he dropped it off a few days ago. So we're going to put some numbers down and see what we can offer. But I'm just getting swamped in stuff at the moment. So it's kind of cool. No need for car boots at the moment because we've got plenty of stuff to just get on with. So that's it. That's another video. I hope you enjoyed watching that video. I hope you're getting swamped in goodies. I know lots of you are going to the car boots, which is great. Very jealous. I always love a good hunt around the car boot. But while I can't do that, it's very, very nice to get lots of items bought into the store. Please leave me a like and a subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time on the channel. Bye.